Tomorrow, Kenya will mark the 57 years of self-rule as it celebrates Madaraka Day, a milestone usually marked with pomp and color, as we are once again reminded of the vision of our founding fathers that they had for this nation. But as the political class busies itself with a scramble for power, tonight we ask, who is busying themselves with the actual building of the nation?
57 years since Kenya attained self-rule. Indeed, were her founding fathers to ask, has Kenya lived up to her potential? Close to 6 decades since the Union Jack was lowered and the Kenyan flag unfurled was the aplomb and jubilation that greeted the hard-won right to self-determine, well-deserved.
At the Uhuru Stadium, the Articles of Independence were handed by the Duke to the country's Prime Minister.
Have the leaders to whom the mantle was passed to shepherd a young nation to the promised land done their ancestors proud?
There are two fundamental things that a resurrected Tomboya will see in Kenya today. The first one, he will see that Kenyans of 1963 entrusted political leadership to an intelligentsia that understood the dynamics of power, the issues of economic governance, the issues of international environment in which they are operating. 60 years after them, nearly 60 years after them, there is here Kenya where the political intelligentsia is not, to put it diplomatically, not very intelligent.
Kenya's development track record is often unfavorably compared to that of the Southeast Asian nations, popularly known as the Asian Tigers. Unfavorable comparisons the experts attribute in part to a lack of...
For a long time in this country, we have politicians leading us, as opposed to statesmen leading this country. The basic difference between a politician and a statesman is that a politician thinks about his or her re-election, how he or she can survive in political office. A statesman thinks about how he or she can actually serve the country. Saying that we put our interest, the interest of the country first and our individual interest second is not solving the problem. It is the action that we take. In East Asian countries, we have had leaders who actually do that.
Those who have no purpose cannot get lost. If you're not going anywhere in particular, any route can take you there. The Asian Tigers had a very, very solid commitment to a certain trajectory. In Kenya, we grew an alternative narrative, individual aggrandizement, an equal distribution of opportunity, mainstreaming corruption, and celebrating thievery. The consequences could not be the same as the consequence of the Asian Tigers.
The sons of those who championed Kenya's independence struggle, President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and Gideon Moi, are now championing the Building Bridges initiative as another opportunity to get things right. But others view it as another opportunity for the dynasties to secure their families' interests.
There has not been any African country, perhaps with the exception of South Africa, which had an inclusive national dialogue and created instruments of governance that could be the basis of a prosperous country. That you did in creating the Constitution of 2010. If that Constitution has not delivered us, I think you should ask questions about what it is that has failed us. It cannot be because of weaknesses in the Constitution.
That lack of implementation, in my view, has been one of the major weaknesses in our governance system. Because if you don't implement the good things we are talking about, then they are good as useless.
All the reports gathering dust on shelves evidence that a man's worth is judged not by his words, but by his willingness to bite the bullet.
Olive Burrows, NTV.